they told me that the course that I designed, for it to be approved by the Department of Education, had to meet the Children First core principles.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, again,
And that's what these
system
are.
controlled.
That's where this comes from. And so they gave me basically it was like a chart that had seven Children First. I'll actually bring you a copy. I'll bring you a copy of them in 2 weeks. Are any of you familiar with it?
If we
Those
went on
of
the
you who are
DOE
within-
website, on the DOE website it should be.
You know, I don't know if it's
I'm
there or
gonna
not.
Google it, I mean,
But I can certainly, I have a copy of it because it was given to me as I was preparing the syllabus. So I can bring you all a copy in a couple of weeks, next time we meet. You can probably find it. I'm guessing you should be able to find it online, but I'll certainly bring it for you. Yeah, so it's basically a grid of 7 different principles, and I had to show how this course was going to meet those principles. And so these were sort of the principles I selected. I said that our course will meet these principles in these different ways. And I listed them for each session. I had to list them for each session. But they're there, and they're basically the ones that I just covered with you, which is, you know, the idea of closing the achievement gap, developing differentiated curriculum, which is, we're going to develop culturally relevant curriculum here. And then we're going to talk about some of the different ways in which we can improve learning outcomes for some of these different Latino populations, second language learners particularly. Those are the ones that we're going to focus on more so, although learning about different cultures, of course, is going to, and learning these parts of the history that have been left out of your more traditional history books, of course, will help everyone, right? It will be beneficial to all students for so many different reasons, not just because of content, but because they begin to understand perspective. They'll they'll hear about history or learn about history from a different perspective, and what does that mean? If they're hearing about history from a different perspective, well, then that tells us that there's more than just one story, right? There's more than just one history. They're going to hear about history. If Puerto Ricans in New York are able to tell the history of certain events from a particular perspective, well, then what does that teach them in general about perspective and about understanding what history is? And how do we learn how to ask those questions, and how do they learn to ask those questions, to really challenge and challenge these stories that they're given, learn how to read them critically rather than just taking it all at face value. And that will all help them develop analysis and critical thinking skills, which are aligned with the standards. But that's how we will approach learning, meeting some of these different standards that they're expected to meet through learning the history of Puerto